I'm Sunita Viswanath, and I'm with Hindus for Human Rights.
And I hear you were just in Minneapolis?
I was part of the 1,000 strong faith convergence in Minneapolis, and it was incredibly inspiring and devastating at the same time. And there were several of us from Hindus for Human Rights who were part of that group that just answered the call. The call came invoking the grave historical significance of Selma. And it was so moving to think of what's happening today in light of the history, the inspiring and devastating history of this land.
And so you were speaking with people who have been out in the streets in Minneapolis?
Yeah, the group that invited us, the interfaith group, March, that invited us, first spent a whole day orienting us and training us and telling us the history and the daily reality of what's happening. And then they sent us out. And so different people in the different groups took part in different actions. So I protested at the ICE headquarters, the Whipple building, with a group of multi-faith faith leaders, and I did patrol for 3 hours and witnessed and experienced that, the dispatch and the patrol and people driving around constantly. Saw ICE activity on just every few blocks. There was yet another car with ICE agents doing something surrounding a car, people, bystanders with their phones and with their whistles and with their middle fingers, whatever they were doing, and just recording. So it's warn, record, and observe is what you're supposed to do. And in the 3 hours that I was in a car with a local Minneapolis person doing patrol, 3 abductions were talked about on the dispatch. So we were very much in the midst of what was most certainly an occupied city. And as somebody who's very active in the pro-Palestinian movement, I also knew I had seen occupation before in the West Bank, and I was seeing it now. So that connection was also very real and visceral.
So how do you think what you and others learned in Minneapolis are going to help people here prepare, even though they haven't experienced it yet? How can people prepare?
People that we met, everybody that we met was doing something. They were doing patrol, they were donating space if they didn't have money, time if they didn't have space or money. And they weren't checking each other out. There wasn't a purity politics. If you live in Minneapolis, when you leave your door, you are taking your life in your hands. They're all living this right now. So it's the most inspiring thing was that people were just holding hands for dear life, without saying, what do you believe about this issue, before making a choice about whether they can hold hands. And the other thing is that the people in Minneapolis were so happy that people had come from outside to show solidarity and show love. But even more than that, they offered us solidarity because they were certain that whatever it is that's happening, the hell that's happening in Minneapolis, is either already at our door or is coming.
How can people be here prepared for the urgency that it's going to, when it happens, before it happens?
Well, hopefully you're going to pack out the Ethical Cultural Society Center, which is, I think, capacity of 3,000, something like that. It's showing up to get trained, and the fear and the hopelessness and the helplessness is very real and understandable, but to let it propel us and not paralyze us. Because in the moment of crisis, when it comes to your door, you're gonna have to act, so you might as well have the tools. And so this training by Hands Off New York City is a perfect place to start. Good morning and namaste to all you beautiful New Yorkers. This past week, Bruce Springsteen and Billy Bragg have written songs in honor of Minneapolis. Invokes the German Lutheran pastor Martin Niemöller, who was a Nazi sympathizer but had a change of heart after the Second World War. In his song, City of Heroes, he wails, and if you ask me, he prays. And I grew up in England, so as I quote from his song, you might detect the accent coming back, I'm sorry. And he wails and he prays, well, I live in a city of heroes. When they came for the immigrants, I got in their face. When they came for the refugees, I got in their face. When When they came for the 5-year-olds, I got in their face. When they came to my neighborhood, I got in their face. They used tear gas and pepper spray against our whistles and our phones, but in this city of heroes, we will protect our home. When they dragged people from their cars, I got in their face. When they took families from their homes, I got in their face. When they murdered our sister, I got in their face. When they murdered our brother, I still got in their face. In Dachau, Martin Niemöller suffered for his complicity. But in this city of heroes, we learn the lessons of history. I will bear witness to terror. I will bear witness to tyranny. I will bear witness to murder. I will bear witness to fascism. I bore witness too. I was in Minneapolis, along with 1,000 other faith leaders from around the country who responded to a call. And what we saw was truly a city of heroes getting in the face of ICE. Absolutely everyone I met was protesting at the ICE headquarters or at the airport, since that's where people are being flown out of, or driving around in their cars in the streets doing patrol, or working dispatch to organize the people doing patrol, or driving kids to school every day, kids whose parents were too afraid to go to school to drop their kids off, donating money or space or time to families in need, running a mutual aid, delivering groceries, or preaching sermons of love and unity and rage and resistance, or getting in the face of ICE agents with their phones and whistles and middle fingers. We 1,000 faith leaders jumped into these actions to bear witness, to show love and solidarity, and also to learn. While the main targets of ICE are immigrants and people of color, particularly Somalis in Minneapolis, every single person I met, no matter race, age, and yes, no matter the difference of ideological or political persuasion, takes their life into their hands every time they leave their house. Renee Good and Alex Preti are proof of this. And still, the people of Minneapolis engage daily in resistance. They know the risks, and still they step up daily. Minneapolis is a city of heroes because it has learned the lessons of history, the harms of not stepping up, the harms of thinking it's not your problem, of waiting till they come for you. The people we met in Minneapolis were grateful that we came, but even more than that, they offered us their solidarity, because there was no question whatsoever in their minds that this tornado of brutality and hate is at our door or heading for our door, no matter where we are in this country. Their message to all of us was clear and direct. Unite across difference, especially ideological difference, and join hands to resist an authoritarian takeover. Give freely and generously. Share whatever you have now. Do what you can to keep each other safe. Act now, because there isn't time for long drawn-out planning. And learn your history, not just American history, but world history. There is a through line between the genocide of indigenous people in this country, the catastrophic history of slavery and Jim Crow, the history of colonialism in the world, and that through line leads here. And there is much to be, thank you. And there is much to be learned from resistance movements throughout the ages. And finally, our resistance movement cannot be symbolic. Acts of resistance must go beyond symbolism into non-cooperation. Protest cannot be law-abiding when there is no law and order. However, they insisted, and I hope we all listen to this, that the most powerful resistance is peaceful, non-violent, non-cooperation. So we're going to have a moment of silence for the people who've been slaughtered by ICE. The Say Their Name movement originated in Black liberation struggles that demanded collective reckoning with police violence. Today, we show up in that tradition, one that recognizes that the same system that killed George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many others is the same system killing and kidnapping people today. We are called on to witness, to connect, and to move toward action together. And so we will say their names. Alex Preddy, say their name, Alex Preddy. Silverio Villegas Gonzalez. Silverio, a father of two and a cook, was shot and killed by ICE at a checkpoint after dropping his children at school. Keith Porter. Keith, father and proud girl dad, was killed outside his apartment after being shot by an off-duty ICE officer following a New Year's Eve celebration. Renee Nicole Good. Renee, a legal observer, queer poet, and mother, was shot and killed by an ICE agent while attempting to flee in her car in pursuit of safety after dropping her child at school. Jamie Alanis. Jamie, a farm worker, was fatally injured during a large-scale ICE raid at his workplace. Jocelyn Rojo Carranza. Jocelyn died by suicide after enduring bullying and threats by classmates that ICE would take her parents. Roberto Carlos Montoya. Roberto, a Guatemalan day laborer, was chased to death by ICE and struck by a vehicle while fleeing for his life. It is so hard to endure such stories and such slaughter in our midst, in our time. And before we take our moment of silence, I want to read to you a quote from James Baldwin, which will just balance the pain that we are feeling right now and give us some oxygen for the fight. He said, I never have been in despair about the world. I've been enraged by it. I don't think I'm in despair. I can't afford despair. I can't tell my nephew, my niece, you can't tell the children there's no hope. And with that, a moment of silence. Rest in power, all the martyrs. I am a person of faith, a Hindu, but my faith is liberatory. My organization is Hindus for Human Rights, not Hindus for Human Rights of some. My prayer is for collective liberation, and my prayer is prayed on my feet. I have with me my religious relics, not prayer shawls and beads, but this t-shirt from the civil disobedience we did a few days ago at the Hilton in Tribeca. Because it is not okay for the Hilton to be housing and profiting off ICE. My sign is from the 50,000 plus march that took place in -20-degree weather in the center of Minneapolis. My keffiyeh was worn, and it was with me when I prayed to Lord Shiva, the Lord of destruction and regeneration, at the southern border to Gaza. And my whistle was handed to me in that march. Whether you believe in a divinity or in humanity or in justice, I appeal to you to take your prayers of love, rage, and resistance to the streets and make the site of suffering and crisis your temple, mosque, synagogue, church. My Hindu heart is broken and put back together over and over again in Minneapolis and since. How can any heart not be shattered when masked agents of hate are slaughtering good people in broad daylight, detaining and disappearing our loved ones, even kids? And when our elected government is behind these atrocities, and there's no law in our land, and how can any heart not swell with love and pride while bearing witness to the kind of radical and selfless heroism that Minneapolis is showing? We have a prayer in Hinduism that goes, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava. It means, be one for whom mother, father, teacher, and stranger are God. Such an unconditionally inclusive teaching that asserts a oneness not only of all of us, but with the divine, can only lead all of us to put our lives on the line for each other. My deep gratitude to the Hands Off New York City team for giving us the tools to get in the face of ice and put ourselves on the line for each other. Hindu prayers usually end with Om Shanti, a call for peace. But in these times, our prayers need to be of rage and resistance, and I have been ending my prayers with Om Shakti, the fiery and rageful power of Goddess Durga, who tramples evildoers underfoot. Om Satya, that fearless truth-telling that is only possible when one is centered in Shakti. Om Shanti, that transformative peace that occurs when evil is vanquished and malicious lies uncovered and justice reigns. And so please, repeat after me. Om Shakti. Om Shakti. Om